And we're live. Hey, everybody in the YouTube lands. Welcome to the
Hi,
show.
everybody.
Hi, Jeff McKinney.
Happy Halloween.
Oh, I love it. That's a great comment. All right. Hey, Jeff McKinney.
There you go. Look, we
wicked.
got soy sauce and sriracha on the same episode. This is perfect.
I got us. All right.
Well, that works too.
What?
What are you wearing?
Oh, what do you think I'm wearing?
Snake
Stop the car, I see a snake.
Annette's watching.
Hi, Annette.
No, know this, Annette. I'm muting my phone, so talk to the chat.
You know, make her laugh too much, then all the bubbles from her Pepsi are going to come through her nose.
Right. Okay. All right. I'm all set. Are you guys all set?
Yeah.
I think so. You know what? The my chat window's looking a little weird, though. That's all. I might not even look at the chat, y'all.
What's wrong with it?
It's just Annette. No, it's a stupid formatting issue where for some reason when I'm shrinking the window down, I can't. There it is. Okay, I'm fine.
All right,
it's all good.
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
well, let's do this. Oh my God, we're starting on time. Here we go.
Hi guys, my name is Christy Norman. I'm a som at Spago Beverly Hills. I have a line of som apparel. I'm coming out with a wine course for beginners online. And this is the We Like Drinking podcast where you never drink alone.
At the sound of the tone, the official We Like Drinking time will be 5 o'clock. Commence consumption.
This week on episode 251 of the We Like Drinking podcast, we'll be discussing cheese, tariffs, and more cheese with Charles Duque from Cheeses of Europe. So crack open your beers, uncork that wine, and let's get drinking. Oh my goodness, people. I am ready to eat and eat a lot of cheese and drink a lot of beer. So this is going to be like the greatest episode ever.
It is not easy being cheesy, but we're going to try.
You know, I was listening to another podcast starring Sam Slaughter from
Oh, okay.
They had a cheese episode, and it took him about 12 seconds for his first cheese pun.
There you go.
So you're in competition with Sam Slaughter to see who can pull more puns out in a cheese episode.
I would expect nothing less from the Manual podcast, formerly known as Beards, Booze, and Bacon, featuring Sam Slaughter, who wrote an article about how this is the greatest podcast of all time. I would expect nothing less.
Nothing less. Hey, Sam.
Hi, Sam.
So cheers, my podcast drinking friends, and welcome to Happy Hour 251 of the only two-time award-winning topical wine and beer education podcast focusing on fun. And tonight, cheese. So, listeners, by now you're hearing beer, you're hearing wine, you're hearing spirits, you're hearing cheese, and we're going to be talking about it for an hour. You've realized that you need to listen to this show each and every week. So don't forget to subscribe to the show by visiting welikedrinking.com/subscribe so you never miss another episode. But that's enough the intros. Let's find out who we're drinking with. We have our California Sustainable Wine Growing Ambassador and recovering wine blogger, Jeff Solomon. who's muted so he can't hear his jokes, our commercial viewer and snake wrangler, John Ruyak.
Hey guys.
And I-
Damn it! I was gonna say, "What's up, y'all?" That's it. All right.
And I'm your host, a certified specialist of wine, Jeff Eccles. Now, our guest this week is the managing director of the French Dairy Board and general manager of the French Cheese Board, a retail shop in New York City. Today, he's here to talk about the Cheeses of Europe, a national campaign financed by the EU to raise awareness on the variety of EU cheeses available in the United States and to educate the American consumer on ways to incorporate them into their diets, their recipes, and their lifestyles. Please help us welcome Charles Duque. Welcome to the show, Charles.
Yeah.
Hello. How's everybody doing?
Everybody's doing great. This is our first episode after our big 250th, and I am more excited for this one than I am last week. I've got some fabulous cheese in front of me. I've got some fabulous beer in front of me, and I'm ready for you to just open our eyes to all that's possible with the cheese. So how are you doing this evening?
I am doing well. Thank you very much for having me. What do you have in front of you?
Well, let's get through it. You can take over the show. I think we got a new host. So I have 3 cheeses in front of me, and I think I'm gonna introduce them. I think in the proper order of how I should eat them. I've got a Port Salut.
Yes.
So I've got a Mimolette,
Mm-hmm.
and I have a Bleu d'Auvergne.
Very good French pronunciation.
Oh, thank you. That's
Bravo.
That's the first time I've ever said anybody said good job. And then to drink, I am having, since we're going all EU on the show, I am going with a Murphy's imported stout out of the can with the nitro gas in it. Jeff Solomon, what's in your glass?
Oh, okay. Well, I want to tell you about my cheeses too. I've got a nice aged cheddar right next to a blue Stilton. And what I'm going to be doing is starting with a revision reimagined IPA while I'm eating some of that cheddar. And then after I finish that, also with the cheddar, I'm going to move over to the old Rasputin Russian Imperial Stout, and I'm going to carry this Russian Imperial Stout into the blue Stilton. If I learned anything today, it's that stouts go well with cheese, which I've never thought
They sure
about
do.
before. Yeah.
So Charles, do you have any cheese in front of you, or are you drinking anything, or is it a little too late for you there?
I am not drinking anything, and I don't have any cheese. I'm all cheesed out today.
Okay. I can imagine after the day you had that maybe you need to take a step back from the cheese for a
Yes,
few hours.
yes. But I can talk about them.
Excellent. John,
Step away
what do you
from
got
the
going?
cheese. What's that?
What do you got going there, John?
Well, I had some brie that I've got warming on the plate to room temperature and I've got a little bit of apricot preserves to spread on it. I had some Bella Vitano earlier, but my wife and I finished it before dinner as an order.
It's an easy problem to get into.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it was like a $7 block of Bella Vitano, and it kind of just evaporated or disappeared down our gullets. We just tapped our robust porter at work, and I brought some of that. So I have some dark cheese going with some dark beer to go with some soft cheese.
Awesome. Now, as far as Cheeses of Europe go, you can find them on Twitter at Cheeses of Europe and on Instagram at Cheeses of Europe. You can also find the Cheeses of Europe website at cheesesofeurope.com or download their handy app for pairing suggestions, how to create the perfect cheese board, and a store locator. So Charles, man, this is going to be a lot of fun. Am I doing the right order on these cheeses? What's the proper order you should be serving your cheeses in?
Well, you guys have brought up some good points so far, and 2 of them have been eating cheese in the right order, and the other one is taking the cheese out of the refrigerator before so it gets to room temperature. Those are both very good tips that you've been giving your listeners. The reason why you want to take the cheese out of the fridge 40 to 45 minutes before you're actually serving and enjoying it is so it really develops all of its aromas and you can get the texture and all the flavors. So you want to have a good mouth experience, and the best way to have it is to let it come up to room temperature. And I think it's the same thing with wine. It's the same thing with a lot of these products. If you're eating something cold, you're not going to really taste it as much. And then the idea about eating cheese in an order, the idea is to start from the mildest to the strongest. So that way, again, if you start with the strongest cheese, your palate's going to be a little shot and you're not going to be able to taste the milder cheeses. So you want to go from mildest to strongest, usually finishing up with the blue cheese.
Excellent. Makes perfect sense. Same rules with beer or wine or anything else. Start, don't start with those palate wrecker IPAs, John.
True.
All right. Okay. So we got some of that stuff out of the way. Now we need to test everybody's brain IQ and make sure they're all working well for a bit we like to call wine, beer, or pop culture reference. So this is where I'm going to give the panel a term, and they're going to try to tell me if it's a wine term, a beer term, or some kind of pop culture reference. The term this week is isinglass. So is isinglass a wine term, a beer term, or a pop culture reference? John Ruyak, we're going to start with you this week.
Really?
Yeah.
Isinglass is a beer or could be a wine term.
Okay.
Isinglass is a fining agent made from the gallbladder of sturgeons and is currently on its way out as a fining agent for clarifying beer.
All right. Interesting. Charles, is isinglass what John says, or do you think it might be something else?
I think it does have to do something with sturgeon. So yeah, I'm going to go with John.
All right. And Solomon, you gonna go 3 for 3 on this one? Maybe you could unmute your microphone.
I could, but I am going to go against the grain because, we were talking not that long ago. I want to say it was episode 249 with one Elizabeth Schneider about the most ridiculous hashtag of all time, which was hashtag respect wine. And what they were fighting against was people putting ice in their glasses of wine. So I'm going to say that isinglass, even though I've also used something with a name that's similar to that when I was brewing some beer, I am going to say that isinglass is in fact the thing that the hashtag respect wine movement does not want you to do. They do not want you to put your isinglass.
I am dead against it.
I almost think you should win just for that answer. But yes, isinglass is a fining agent, a gelatinous material, usually from the gallbladders of fish or sturgeon, as you said, used to clarify wines and or beer. Threw an easy one at you this week. Everybody got it. Good job. And it was isinglass. All right.
Make wine great again. Don't put ice in glass.
To go off on a bit of a tangent to the tavern on Facebook. You guys are awesome. Like, everybody heard that episode a couple weeks ago, and this week in the tavern on the Fridays roll call, there was so many videos of people throwing ice into their glasses of beer or wine or everything else. It was cracking me up, and all the ketchupization of the drinks too was fantastic. So thank you for all that. Send me all those videos so I can post it to that dude's Instagram page, please. All right, Charles, sorry for that little tangent there, but let's get into this. The cheeses of Europe. First, can you just give us a brief overview of what cheeses of Europe is? besides what I mentioned in the opening? Is there anything else to it?
Well, these are European funded campaigns that are executed in different countries. So I manage actually the Americas for the French Dairy Board. So I manage that campaign here in the US, in Brazil, in Colombia, in Mexico, et cetera. So it's different campaigns, obviously different languages, et cetera. And the goal is always the same. It's to educate the local consumer on these products. You know, France has over 1,200 different cheeses, for instance. So we're talking, you know, to a consumer that doesn't necessarily know how to use the product, how to say the names, how to incorporate it in their daily life. So that's pretty much what the campaign does. And in addition to raising awareness, it's there's also a lot of social media communication. There's in-store demos going on in supermarkets. There's events, PR events that take place with influencers and media and things like that in the different markets in order to help to use them to get our messages across.
Awesome. That sounds like a pretty fun experience for you to be heading up here in the US. I'm going to go talk to people about cheese all the time. I mean, yeah. So, you know, we talk a lot about how well wine and cheese go together. I think a lot of people, especially on the American side, you hear about wine pairings and people kind of automatically think cheese is there. But, you know, our show is about wine, beer, spirits. And John mentioned it a little bit, stouts. What are some of the beer and cheese pairings that you find work really well and that maybe some of our listeners should try to experience?
Well, you know, I'm very lucky to be able to. We have a space in New York called the French Cheese Board, where we do a lot of events, mostly targeting influencers and media. And there we get to work with a lot of partners in with spirits, with beer, with wine. So we actually have tasted cheese with everything from sake to brandy to cognac, beer, wine, obviously, champagne. So the gamut runs pretty large with cheese. There's a cheese that goes with everything. But you know, I think that another good trick and pairing suggestion when you're looking at, you know, an alcohol to pair with cheese is to also look at where the cheese comes from and find spirits or wines, et cetera, that come from the same region as the cheese, as where the cheese is produced. And that usually makes a great pairing. But for instance, you know, if we're talking about that Blue d'Auvergne that you're eating, which is the blue cheese, that goes really well with a pear brandy, you know, for example. Or it also goes very well with a Sauterne, you know, a dessert wine.
Okay.
So you're looking for balancing acts with some of these cheeses. So in this case, the Blue d'Auvergne, it's very creamy. It's a little salty. And the pear brandy or the sweet wine really cuts that salt, cuts that creaminess, and balances it nicely in mouth. Another example, you know, I know you're eating the mimolette. That's nice with a bourbon, for instance. And yeah, so that's one of those, you know, experiences that I had having mimolette and bourbon, where it really transports you. When you have them both in your mouth, it creates such an experience that you're transported somewhere else. I mean, I had the impression of being, you know, in front of a fireplace and just enjoying it, and it was nice. It was nice. So, what's another example I can give you? Like Camembert, which is from Normandy. That goes really well with apple cider, for instance, with a hard cider, or Calvados as well, which are both liquors from the same area.
Okay. Do you have anything for like an IPA? Because I know a lot of our listeners are big IPA fans.
IPA off the top of my head, I don't, but I can send you that info.
Okay. All right. John Ruyak, I know you have a bunch of questions you're dying to ask.
Well, look up the website, and I was scrolling through different cheeses, and there was some pairing suggestions for beer and for wine, and then beer, and even a couple of jokes about Comté cheese. Anyway, And so I was going to ask, but you sat down and did all these tastings yourself, and did that take an afternoon or a couple of months?
Well, it actually takes I would say a couple of hours. We have an idea of what cheeses go well with certain types of liquor, and then you kind of take them out and do a taste test and see what works. Not everything works, obviously. So, I sit down with my team. We go through them. We go through probably like 10 different cheeses and find a few pairings that work well.
I know that can get, it can really like fatigue your palate after a little while. But
Yeah.
I wanted to jump back to maybe a more technical question about cheese itself, and something that people are really familiar with. You mentioned Camembert and Brie are really popular cheeses from France, and I'm having one right now. And before I get to my question, I must say it's much more difficult to like slice off a piece of Brie and dip it into your apricot preserve, like dipping a chip into salsa. When the Brie gets really soft at room temperature, it's easier to do that when it first comes out of the fridge. But
we have knives too.
But that's, I don't know. You just dip the cheese right into the apricot preserve.
Okay. Well,
I
haven't tried that, but
You John.
I'll try that next. I'll try that tomorrow.
I think that's how my dad eats Brie and jelly as well. Just like chunks of Brie inside the jelly jar.
So if you ever have to meet John Ruyak at a cheese tasting, just don't shake his hand.
But the rind on a Brie, I've seen some that are, and obviously I eat it. I went up, in my much younger days, I might shy away from it, but I don't anymore. There's a lot of flavor in it. But on some, they're thicker than others. Is that a matter of aging? Is that what does it mean when the rind, is that just a producer issue, or is there a significance to the thickness of the rind on a Brie or a Camembert?
So Brie and Camembert, they're both soft ripened cheeses. They're both using the same type of bacteria that grows around the cheese. So it's called Penicillium camemberti. And the difference, I would say, in a thicker or thinner rind is just the producer. It could be the rind. The bacteria grows around the paste in different ways. It could either be sprayed on, or it could be also grows naturally if you're aging the cheese inside a cave that's already filled with the bacteria. So it's really a question of how they're producing it.
Okay. Cool. I have other questions, but I'll let Solomon ask some of his.
So I have to say, I was surprised in all of our different things, like, hey, find them on Twitter and Instagram and everything. I was surprised that we didn't put a plug in for the Cheeses of Europe YouTube page, because I started watching some of these videos and I just got sucked in. Like it was just wonderful. And I saw a clip of you, Charles, at a tennis tournament, serving up some cheeses. And I was just thinking, like, how fun is that to get out there and just, talk to the public and serve up cheese. But then I also wonder, talking to people that maybe weren't even expecting to go in, like learning about cheese at any particular moment, they just see it and they start talking to you. Do you find that the general public is sometimes having the same issue that we see in wines in particular, where a lot of people are kind of turned off by the different words that they can't pronounce, and they're afraid that there are all these rules and that they're doing things wrong? Are there people that are actually like, are you finding that they're kind of afraid of cheese in that sense?
Well, I'm happy you found the YouTube channel. That's fun, and we've created a lot of different little ads in there that are funny and that are supposed to make cheese less or more accessible, towards the consumer. And then, we've been sponsoring the U.S. Open Series for the past 2 years. So we're always at these tennis tournaments, usually Atlanta, Cincinnati, San Jose, California, and Winston-Salem. And I mean, what you said is true. Cheese is intimidating to a lot of people. And the whole idea of these campaigns is to try to raise awareness, to make them more accessible, to incorporate them into things that people know, like, a mac and mimolette, for instance, or a burger with blue cheese, with blue d'Auvergne. So these are ways that people feel more comfortable with it. So we created an app that's downloadable on a smartphone. And that app actually allows you to listen and to learn how to say the names. So that when you go to the cheesemonger, you could actually sound French.
Oh wow!
Or at least know how to say the names.
Oh wow! Hold up.
Yeah.
Let me. I just have to, because I have it out right now. Okay. I know
you do. Okay, good.
It's very unprofessional, but here we go.
Go for it.
Oh, let me try that
There
again.
you go. Wow.
Oh, blue d'Auvergne.
Isn't that sexy?
Oh, that's wonderful.
Look at that. All right, we're along like all kinds of things here.
Well, speaking of that app, because the app is beautiful. I was wondering, is the app itself being well received by the public? Are people finding that not just that they downloaded it, but they're actually like using it? Are people talking it up?
Yeah, we've been getting a lot of good feedback. We're all at the tennis tournaments in particular. We always incite people to download it and give them, a board when they do, and just really want them to use it. And it's been pretty well received.
Nice.
I have to say, when I was picking out my cheeses today, I had the app up because I was looking through the cheeses and I was using the app to find the cheeses and get better explanation of what it was I was looking for through the app, and it helped me make my buying decisions today. So it was
good to hear. And then it also has a store locator with thousands of locations throughout the country of where you can find these cheeses just by putting in your zip code, I believe.
Nice.
Yeah.
It was interesting that Solomon said something about serving up a cheese at a tennis tournament. Can you imagine Venus Williams tossing up a ball of mimolette and trying to smash that over the net? She'd break her racket. Not to mention ruin a $120 ball of cheese.
Yeah, those are pretty good size balls too.
I mean, it's a pretty efficient way to cube up a brick of cheddar, I guess.
That could work.
Get like some some steel wires instead of the nylon.
Yeah.
Just heat it up real quick and then shoot.
Yep.
And then all the cheese boys run out and pick up all the cubes.
All the cubes.
All right. Well, I'm
sorry. I was going to say, and I think we've talked about this on the show before, but one of the really cool things about the place where we shop, which is Smith's, a Kroger company, and Whole Foods does the same thing. Is they've got their whole cheese section, and the cheese lady is really our favorite person in the whole entire supermarket,
right?
Because she's slicing something up. She's, hey, have you tried this? Because she knows us, we're in there a couple times a week. But just the way the cheese displays have been set up of late, when they're breaking down a wheel or something like that, they come up with this odd piece. They'll throw something in there that's really small, and you can just try it for $2 or $3 or $6 or $7 instead of, because some cheeses are a little bit pricey, and you want to know what you're getting before you really dive into making an investment in new cheese.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of cool.
I agree. And I've been seeing that in a lot of supermarkets, and it's a great way to get people to taste something new and, try it. Otherwise, they wouldn't probably buy it.
Yeah. And that brings up a great question. Like, Americans in general, we kind of probably have our handful of cheeses that we go for. And so as you're trying to educate and introduce people to cheeses from Europe, are there any particular cheeses that you gravitate to people that are looking to get beyond Colby Jack or American or pepper jack cheese? Are there cheeses that you kind of like introduce people into the wide range of cheeses that are available?
Yeah. What's the starter cheese?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great question also for a cheesemonger, and that's some of the questions that the cheesemonger is going to ask the customer when they go up to the counter. What kind of cheeses do they like already? And what they'll do is kind of start from there. If the person likes harder cheeses, if the person likes creamier cheeses, etc., and maybe introduce them to something that they are already familiar with as far as taste and texture, and that way they can gradually learn more and be a little bit more adventurous of what they're trying, on a weekly basis.
Do you have a go-to cheese that you gravitate towards?
I think a cheese that goes very well here is Comté. Comté is one of these. It's a mountain cheese. It's from Franche-Comté near the Swiss border. It's a very large wheel. It weighs around 88 pounds, and there's actually a flavor chart that has over 120 descriptors that you can use to describe different flavors and that are found in different wheels of Comté. And it's amazing. It's a cheese that has a semi-hard texture, and it's just very easy to eat. It goes well with everything. It has a nutty Swedish flavor to it, and people like that a lot.
So these 120 different descriptors, is that something that's a function that changes with age for that particular cheese, or?
Yeah, it definitely changes with age. But what's funny is that it changes per wheel. So all the wheels are made in for the most part using the same milk, the same production area. They're aged in the same facility, but each wheel develops differently. And a wheel that was produced the same day may not have the same flavors as its neighbor while it's aging.
Wow, it was so funny. Like,
that's cool.
Right as you started talking through that, I was thinking to myself, like, I wonder if there's wheel variation. Like, we might see like bottle variation in wine and even some beers as well. And just kind of like thinking more deeply, like, are there particular, pastures and particular cows that are raised in certain areas where it's like, no, these cattle right here and this particular herd, this particular generation are making some amazing cheeses right now that I don't think you're ever going to be able to find like after they're all dead? Like, I mean, is that something that happens?
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, France has 50 what they call PDOs, which are protected designation of origin products, and 45 cheeses, 3 butters, and 2 creams. And each of those products is made using, very specific production methods. And yeah, there's a breed of cattle that's used. The cows can only graze in a certain area, and the cheese has been being produced in the same way for hundreds of years. So yeah, definitely.
Wow.
And all this has to do with with wine too, with the terroir.
Oh, totally.
Mm-hmm.
And then
yeah, I was going to say, terroir.
The other thing I was thinking, because Jeff was kind of talking about maybe an American palate, getting used to European styles of cheeses. What is kind of nice, I live in California, so we're all very proud of our cheese out here. But obviously, even with all these like amazing cheeses that I could get out of Sonoma, a lot of these are cheeses that are patterned after European styles of cheese, and I was kind of wondering this because I've never had real Camembert and I'm sorry, de Normandy. I've never had the real stuff. I've had, the American version of Camembert. And I was just wondering, like, to somebody who might be used to just the the garden variety generic camembert that they see on the shelf as compared to like the real stuff? I mean, is there a huge difference that people are going to notice?
Yes, there's a difference. I would say that the product that's sold here is obviously a product that has a longer shelf life, that has a recipe that's been modified a little bit in order for it to travel this far and make it to our shelves and be sold. One of the big differences between Camembert de Normandy and the generic Camembert we have here is that the Normandy version is made with raw milk, and that is the big difference.
Oh yeah.
A cheese that's made with raw milk continues to be a living, it continues to be alive. It continues to evolve. And as it ages, it becomes runnier, stinkier, but develops all these like amazing flavors that we're never going to get here with our, supermarket Camembert, unfortunately. There's a couple of brands that come close here. But obviously when you're in France, definitely try the real thing and have that experience. Yeah.
I gotta go. I just gotta buy the ticket. My son this last year got really into the Disney cartoon Lady Bear and Cat Noir, and part of the running storyline is there's this magical sprite that needs to eat Camembert cheese in order for them to get their powers. So we got into like eating like the generic Camembert, but I gotta eat the real stuff now because I want to be able to turn into a cat with superpowers.
In the words of someone we all know and love, the difference is huge.
Yeah.
So let's
huge.
Listeners, we're talking to Charles Duque with the cheeses of Europe, and I need to taste some of these cheeses. I don't know about you guys, but
you haven't tasted. I'm almost done with my wedge of brie, and you haven't tasted any yet.
So Charles, I'm going to start with this Port Salut. Yes. So what can I expect from this?
Well, Port Salut is a wash rind cheese. That's the name of the family that it falls under, and it has a rubbery, semi soft texture to it. So it has a little bit of sourness, I would say, to it.
Yeah, very creamy.
Yeah,
touch of sour. Man, that is good. I'm gonna try it with a little bit of the stout though.
So wash rind cheeses, are these cheeses that they wash the outside of the cheese regularly during its aging process with either it could be brine or otherwise with Mar de Bourgogne, which is a type of brandy, and this really creates this bacteria called B. linen that grows around the rind, and that's what gives it its orangey color and also stinkiness. Those are the ones that smell the most. The most famous wash rind from France is called Époisse.
Okay, man, that's really good. Jeff, do you got one you want to get into?
Yeah, right now I am munching on some of this nice aged cheddar. And I did find that it's going pretty well with this, West Coast IPA right here. There's that sharpness that's coming from this cheddar that I really like. And there's this acidity, and the bubbles in the beer are kind of cutting through and like bringing up the fattiness of this cheese. This is delicious. Once I open up this stout in about a minute, I definitely want to see what the difference is there. But yeah, this is nice. I'm also really excited about that Stilton once I get into that. But you gotta give me a minute, Jeff.
Now the Stilton, is there something special about the Stilton, Charles?
The Stilton is it's a blue cheese from Britain. It's a British blue cheese.
Okay, maybe it's a different one I'm thinking of. John, what do you got? Or is everything gone?
No, well, I love brie. I just love it. And you can bake brie. You can surround it with a pastry. You can cover it with apples. But there's one cheese I wanted to ask you about that I've only seen. I learned about it in a food class I took in college, gosh, 30 years ago, and I've only ever seen it once, and I don't remember the name. And it is a French cheese, and I think it's a semi-soft cheese, and it's a two-part wheel, and in between the two parts of the wheel, they rub it with ash.
Oh yeah, it's called Morbier.
Okay, I've only ever seen it once, and I've tried it, and I thought it was just delicious.
Yeah, Morbier is it's available here in the States under a different name right now because the ash that was used, or it's no longer ash really, but the line that kind of goes through the middle of the cheese was not approved by the FDA. So that Morbier is not available in the U.S., but there's another version that is available in the U.S. So historically, the morning milking was put into a mold, and then they would cover the milk with ash to keep the flies away. And then they would put in the evening milking above that, and then they would age the cheese. So that explains the line.
Okay.
Now it's more decorative than anything else.
Okay.
I just thought that was such a cool thing, and I've seen it once, had it once, and thought it was delicious and just hard to find now.
Yeah, no, it's a good one. Semi-soft. It's from Franche-Comté. It's what can I tell you? It goes well with Burgundy wines, with Beaujolais. What else? It goes well with a lambic beer or saison or a sour beer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
There
So
you go.
I tried this mimolette, and man, this is really good. This is one of my favorites that I've had here. The problem is that my bourbon is just out of reach, and now that you've said that it goes really well with bourbon, I'm really upset.
Yeah.
Should I call Marcy and have her come upstairs and come over and hand you your bottle of Clyde Made?
Tried it with the stout, and it's a flavorful.
It goes well. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sorry, it goes well. What?
It goes well with a stout as well, a porter, a Belgian triple. Are you getting the butterscotch flavor?
I was looking for it, and I'm not getting it in this one. I am getting a bit of nuttiness.
You're not getting it? Okay. I don't know how old that.
Not,
usually the older pieces of mimolette, it develops that butterscotch flavor, but I'm not sure what the age of the piece you have is.
of the one I have. Yeah. But it is delicious. It's a little bit sharp. It's a little bit nutty. It's very flavorful, very long finish. I'm really enjoying this one. Jeff, have you gotten into your blue yet?
Yeah, so I broke open the old Rasputin North Coast Russian Imperial Stout, and I went to go taste it with the cheddar, and it was delicious. It was like the weirdest thing. It's not often that you talk about stouts and something being zippy and zesty at the same time, but that's what was happening inside my mouth, and it was not an unpleasant experience. It was amazing, and it was almost like, the sharpness of the cheddar was on some ways like we might have like the acid driven like white wines. You might think about those as like zipping up and giving some oomph to the food that you're eating. It was almost like the reverse, and it's tough to improve on a classic like an old Rasputin, but it was almost like this beautiful like laser focused like zippy zesty line of flavor that just blasted through that old Rasputin and really highlighted like the raisiny and kind of like pruny characteristics of that, and I'm just starting to get into this Stilton. It's I used a knife to cut it, but now it's crumbling apart in my hand, so forgive me. I'm eating like a horse right now.
I'll say as we get into that, the mimolette, when I tasted it with the cheddar, with the stout, it almost highlighted the coffee notes in the stout, like as the coffee notes really pop while I was having the cheese.
And no joke, I'm getting that as I'm having the Stilton with this Russian Imperial Stout as well. The coffee, the toffee, the chocolate. That's really being amplified here. You know, and there's almost like there's this thing that I think gets kind of like missed out with folks in general is maybe it's not really that one thing is amplifying the other, that it's like the whole here is greater than the sum of its parts, right? Like this is the forest and not just a bunch of individual trees. Like this is such a tasty experience that is tough to describe, but just so delicious. And for me, this is mind opening because I went out of my way to not drink wine tonight and to try these cheeses with beers, because I think that's something that gets missed out on quite a bit. But oh my God, this is delicious. And this is scary. I'm going to wake up with a fatty liver.
Well, I just my thought, and I'm not the cheese expert, but and maybe with champagne it would be different. But I think the effervescence of beer just creates a whole different thing that just drives flavors in a gazillion different directions when you pair that with cheese, because beer is pretty acidic in general, and so is wine, of course. But with the added punch of the carbonic acid, the carbonation, and then with the creaminess of cheese, I think, I'm not biased, I'm a brewer, but I think cheese goes better with beer than it does with wine.
That's a bold statement.
A lot of that. That's a bold statement, but a lot of people say that, and it's not entirely crazy, because they're both fermented products. I think that you're right. The carbonation does cut the fattiness, so it cleanses your palate, makes it ready for the next bite.
I gotta say, this blue with this stout, Jeff, it's freaking amazing.
You know why they call it blue cheese? Because it blew you away.
Oh, boo hiss.
Like, that's an unbelievable pairing. That's amazing.
Yeah. And by the way, like I saw this as well, as I'm going through the app, I found like all the cheeses that I really love and gravitate towards. Almost all of them were suggesting like, have this with some Sauterne, and I could totally see that. And the thing I gotta ask, I just gotta know, Charles, being the cheese guy, is cheese like the greatest dessert?
Yeah, definitely. It could be a great dessert. We actually did a whole event the other day. We worked with 6 New York City chefs to use cheese to make a dessert, and these were all chefs from very good restaurants here in Manhattan, and they created these amazing things that you can find on our French cheese board website. But it makes great dessert. In France, most people either have dessert or cheese, because it finishes up a meal just the right way.
All right. So we've all gotten together. We're around the table. We've had our meal of cheeses. We've got some alcohol involved. Let's throw politics in here and see what happens. So a lot of our listeners know that there's been some tariffs flying around everywhere, but recently one got thrown at the EU that specifically targeted wines and cheeses from Europe. And as the cheeses of Europe guy, I know with a lot of products, when the tariffs went into effect, it was for the most part after everything had cleared customs for the holiday season. But I wasn't sure, is that the case for cheese? And what are you looking at, or what are you guys doing gearing up for what these tariffs how it may impact you for your cheeses in the United States?
So these tariffs, went into effect after a discussion that's been going on now for 15 years between the United States accusing Europe of subsidizing Airbus, which is the airplane manufacturer, and then Europe turned around and accused the U.S. of also subsidizing Boeing. So it's been going on for a while. The WTO has been mediating this, and they decided that the United States was right and was able to tax European products in order to make up the difference of any revenue that they lost. The revenue in question is $7.5 billion.
Yep.
And the administration decided to tax agricultural products in particular from Europe. So most of the European 28 countries and member states were affected through different products. The French were lucky because cheese was not targeted. So French cheese has not been taxed and is not going to be more expensive in the months ahead. But we were taxed on wine.
Okay.
So you might see an increase in French wine. You'll also see an increase in that Stilton or in Parmigiano Reggiano from Italy, or a lot of the cured meats and charcuterie from Italy. So it depends on the product and its provenance. But right now we haven't been affected by it. Like I said, for cheese, so we're very lucky in that respect. I know some of my colleagues who work for the other countries, they have brought in what they can and what will last through the holidays. But as you know, cheese is not a shelf-stable product, so you can't bring in a ton of it. And so we're going to have to pay for it.
Yep. And so, yep. Well, that's excellent. That maybe whoever's coming up that list was like, French cheese. I love my French cheese.
I don't know who it was, but thank you.
Don't mess with my mimolette. No, I gotta have my mimolette. So,
exactly.
Just don't look at it under a microscope.
No.
That person must have been
so
looking at the Cheeses of Europe YouTube channel as they were making those decisions. They're like, I cannot miss out on this grilled cheese sandwich.
Yeah. I don't know what it was, but we're very happy. I mean, obviously, I represent here the entire dairy industry, so all the companies were very nervous about what was going to happen, and so we I don't want to talk about it too much because
yep, makes sense. Yeah. Understood. So what I
don't want to jinx us.
All right, guys, any other questions for Charles before we move on and I run and grab that bourbon?
Yeah. Can people do cheese wrong? Like, is there a wrong way to enjoy cheese? With a pairing, with a decision that you make with anything, can people do cheese wrong?
Well, I have a good example. I do a lot of trade shows as well, and I remember at one point I was behind the counter sampling cheese out, and some guy walks up to it, and we had maybe 5 different cheeses that were cut up into pieces, and the guy comes up and he starts putting all 5 in his mouth at the same time, and he starts chewing on them. He's like, with his mouth full, he's like, "These are really good." And I'm like, "Yeah, which one, sir?" So that would be my example of doing cheese wrong.
Did you say here, I have the perfect drink for you, and go to the soda fountain and shoot a little bit.
Exactly. Here's a Diet Coke, yeah.
And then you pick up the bar mat and just empty it all in a shot glass for him.
Yeah.
So you're saying cheese is not like Voltron, is what I'm hearing.
Exactly.
No, cheese is not like Skittles. Don't just put them all in your mouth at the same time.
Right.
God.
Well, along those lines, then, if we're going down this rabbit hole, Charles, what's your thought on American cheese, specifically American cheese?
Like the like the individually wrapped slices.
Yes.
Okay.
That's not cheese. That's
I think it has its place.
Cheese.
Excellent answer. Excellent answer.
Yeah.
All right, John.
But
any more-
if we do want to talk about American artisanal cheese, it's come a long way too, and that's it's worth trying out as well.
Oh, there's
definitely.
Some of the cheeses out of Utah are really good.
Yeah. All over the country. I'm lucky to go to the American Cheese Society on a yearly basis and, see that show grow and how many entries are coming in from every state now. And people are producing pretty good stuff.
Yeah. Yancey's fancy.
Yeah. It would not be my first example, but yeah.
Okay. How do you feel about cheese stuffed pizza crust?
I like it.
Are you a fan of?
I don't have it very much, but yeah.
Are you a fan of the Juicy Lucy? Do you know what that one is?
Yeah. The Juicy Lucy's type of burger with cheese that's in the ground beef.
Are you down with that? Is that legit?
Oh yeah, I'm down with it. We actually have a recipe on our website.
Nice.
Okay.
Juicy Lucy.
All right. Since you brought it up, Solomon.
Yeah.
Charles, I'm cooking a big, fat, juicy hamburger on the grill.
Yes.
Give me the cheese that I need to put on top of that burger.
The Bleu d'Auvergne.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
The Bleu d'Auvergne. Yeah, it's a very, very nice combo with the blue cheese burger.
Okay. All
Nice.
that. Oh my God. This episode.
And then with the mimolette, you can make a nice mac and mimolette. You can bring it up a notch, instead of just doing mac and cheese, do a mac and mimolette.
Wait.
And then,
Mac and oh my God.
Yeah, mac and mimolette. And mimolette is the Halloween cheese, since it's just the perfect Halloween cheese as well with that wonderful orange color.
Yes.
Should it be lobster mac and mimolette?
We've done that as well. It's delicious.
I've got it.
Hold on. Tomorrow night, my kids are going to be ringing my doorbell, and I'm going to be sitting there with a pot of food. Mac and mimolette, kids. You're the for it. All right. Solomon, what's your question? If you guys got one more, that's it.
Oh, just one? Okay. I should get rid of it. Okay. Cross off the joke. Cheese and orange juice. Okay. I got everything. Okay. Yeah, you got it all. You hit it all.
You're amazing.
You're the best.
Is there a cheese you're wanting to get from France to here that you haven't gotten here yet, but you're excited to?
A lot of people want to get those raw milk cheeses in, and there's a big movement here in the States to market and to have more access to raw milk cheeses. So that's something that we've been working on for a while with the FDA, trying to show them that there is control processes all along the production line in order to make sure that cheese is safe for the consumer.
Awesome.
I'm just saying it's a shame that vape juice is legal, but I can't get some raw. I can't get some camembert. And I keep forgetting de Normandy.
I agree with you.
Come on, man! Banana flavored vape juice is legal. Come on.
Oh,
not in every state it seems now.
Yeah. Charles, is there anything we missed? I mean, we've run the gamut and we kind of went to the floor pretty quick, but is there anything we missed that you want to highlight about the cheeses of Europe for our listeners?
There's so many cheeses to choose from. I think that go to the website, check it out, go talk to your cheesemonger, go to Whole Foods, go to Kroger, go to all these wonderful retailers we have across the country, and these people are there to help you. They're there to allow you to taste these products and discover something new.
Amen to that. All right. All right, so Charles, we're about done with the show. We don't have a whole lot of time left, but I know it's late for you. So if you want to get going, you can feel free, or you can stick around for us as we wrap the show up.
Well, guys, I'm gonna get going.
Excellent.
But I really appreciate your enthusiasm. I'm glad to see that you guys are knowledgeable about cheese, and pairing it with these great products is with beers, with wines, with liquor and spirits is the way to go.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for taking time out to join us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Charles. Thank you, Charles.
Thank you all.
I think we learned a lot out of this, and we can't thank you enough for joining us. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a great night, guys. Thank you.
You too. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Man, that was great. Dude. Like, all right, I'm gonna do it. Mimolette, Port de Salt, Blue d'Auvergne, all at once. Here we go.
Oh. It ain't Skittles, buddy.
That's not good.
Now you really need that bourbon to wash it all out.
All right. While I'm choking this down, bump, 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 bump.
By the way, I realized I was on mute. I wanted to announce that I'm going to do my Jeff Eccles extra special Stilton with some aged cheddar right now as well. So here we go.
How's that working out?
You know, it tastes about as good as it's actually not bad. It's not bad. It's not the best. And it's kind of like my team last week in fantasy football. I put up a respectable 126 points, but Mike Cadavera, Mr. Butt Destiny, he kicked my ass. I'm going to be frank here. So, you know, I was marching up the ranks. I'm in 10th place now, but I'm really excited because this next week I'm going up against the person who is in 9th place. I'm going up against Jeremy from the Felton Covered Bridge, and I cannot wait to kick his butt. This upcoming week, what's going to happen is Mr. Sriracha is going to beat down on Mr. Pace. That's what's going to happen.
Ooh, it's the Pace Bowl, huh?
Yeah. By the way, let me just point this out. Main Jeff is in 3rd place with 1,102 points, and I'm in 10th place with 1,139 points. So figure that out. Figure that out. This is a game of luck. It has nothing to do with skill, everybody. So just remember that.
Oh, that's hilarious. All right. Well, if Jeff Solomon is abandoning all his previous thoughts and saying that fantasy football is just luck, my God.
I mean, in this league it is. In the ones I'm winning, it's not. That's skill.
Obviously, he is having some kind of allergic reaction to the Stilton cheese that he's having. So we've got to get him to an emergency room. So it's better us to call.
Last call.
Last call.
Last call.
Here comes the ambulance.
What's that, John?
The ambulance is coming for his allergic reaction.
You know what we do here, folks? We're looking for a little help from you, our listeners. John Ruyek, if the folks want to find us on the social media platforms, where can they do so?
Hey, there's Twitter. That's We Like Drinking 1. That's numeral 1. Instagram, We Like Drinking. And hey, follow us on our Facebook group known as The Tavern. You know, check out The Tavern. WeLikeDrinking.com/tavern.
Make sure you check it out, man. It is so much fun.
We had a good night on Friday. That was
last cool. Friday night. I was laughing out loud at inappropriate moments all night.
Tracy came back last Friday. She was like, "What are you laughing about in here in the brewery?" And I'm like, "Ketchup." What?
God.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, come Come drop some ice in a glass. Come get some ice and glass in the tavern every Friday.
Jeff Solomon.
Yeah.
If the
Hey.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Don't forget to search up our show on Apple Podcasts and leave us a big fat 5-star review. If you enjoyed this show in particular, do not forget to also share it with a friend. In fact, when you're telling your friend why it's funny to put ice cubes into wine, grab their phone and subscribe them to the show.
Absolutely. When you go visit your cheesemonger this week, tell them you heard about their cheese on the We Like Drinking podcast.
I should be a podcast monger, honestly.
Yeah, you should be.
Tell me about what you like to listen to. Have you tried We Like Drinking? Here you go, and I shove it in your mouth.
Make sure that toothpick isn't too far in there.
And of course, if you've done all that and there's just more you want to do, you become an Uber supporter. You can become a sponsor. You can become a helper. You can be a producer of the show by visiting welikedrinking.com/pledge to find out how you can become a patron of the show. Find out more about all the amazing swag you can get, how you can get to know us better, how you can get to interact with us more by visiting welikedrinking.com/pledge. You can also find the show notes for this episode with all the links to the stories or mentions we had at welikedrinking.com/episodes. All right, I'm full. Well, not really. I'll eat more later, but it's the time of the show where I get to say, okay, panel, let's take one last trip around this table and get some final thoughts before we shut off the lights. John Ruyak.
All right, I'm going to rant.
Yeah,
it's a last call, but thoughts, whatever. I was going to use my brie tortilla chip dipping in apricot for this, but it was too good not to use earlier in the show. But earlier today, I was kicked off of a fan page. My son invited me to become part of the Facebook group Sabres Mafia. And like every other fan page on Facebook, it's full of idiots. They know nothing about hockey, just people talking out their butt. Just people that are, bandwagoning and all this other BS. So, all you people, I'm kind of preaching to the choir. I know none of our listeners are like this, but before you do that stuff, make sure you know what you're talking about. Just make sure you know what you're talking about.
Wise words from John Ruyak. Jeff Solomon.
Along those lines, just today, I'm driving down the street with my family, and I just had to stop the car and I had to pull over, and I said, "Look, family, there's a poser right over there." And there was this high school kid. He was leaving high school. He was walking down the street with his brand new skateboard tucked under his arm, design pointing out, walking with his skateboard tucked under his arm. Not a scratch on it, folks. Don't be a poser.
Yeah,
it's okay if you suck at skateboarding. I do too. Don't be a poser.
There you go. Those two last comments go hand in hand, don't they, Solomon?
Yeah, they do. And I'll just wrap it up by saying, even though he had to drop, I really appreciate Charles taking time out after a hard day of pushing cheese. He could come on and talk to the three of us yahoos about cheese, but a fascinating subject, one that you should really, if you're interested in it, go try some cheese. Go try some cheeses, man.
There's a lot of things people are passionate about. Beer, wine, people are passionate about cheese, and they should be.
Yeah, because cheese is
awesome.
It is awesome. All right. And with that, I'll say thanks again for joining us at the We Like Drinking podcast.
Where you'll never drink alone.
Cheese.
Cheese.
Say cheese.
Cheese.
All right.
Hey, Mobs.
All right. Well,
Live streaming is on. I'm sorry, I didn't say it at the beginning.
viewers, thanks for watching the show again this week. We will catch you next week.